The seemingly peculiar connection asserted here among socialism, Catholicism, and occultism can be explained on two levels. The first concerns scholarship on Constant as an individual. The second concerns broader scholarship on subjects such as occultism, esotericism, and socialism. Regarding the first level, given the importance of Constant's occultist writings, it is remarkable that no study has previously attempted to place them within their historical context. Indeed, within the study of esotericism, Constant is generally mentioned only en passant as the rénovateur, the reviver of an older occultist tradition, or alternatively as the founder of a modern or neo-occultism. All of this implies that he renewed or continued a pre-existing older tradition. Consequently, scholars have been less interested in Constant himself than in the so-called occult revival that occurred toward the end of the 19th century after his death. This designation was coined by Christopher McIntosh's 1975 study, which adopted certain narratives from the late 19th and early 20th centuries, largely without criticism. According to these narratives, the socialism of Abbé Constant ended in 1848 and gave way to the occultism of Éliphas Lévi. Their origins can be traced to the 1880s, when French occultists claimed that the socialist had attained enlightenment through an initiation and had consequently become the rénovateur, the reviver of an ancient occultist tradition. The Polish scholar Józef Maria Hone-Wroński, 1776 to 1853, an alleged occultist who supposedly awakened Constant's interest in Kabbalah and magic almost instantaneously and then instructed him, was declared the key figure responsible for this initiation. At the same time, during the 1880s and 1890s, the well-known English writer Arthur Edward Waite, 1857 to 1942, developed various interpretations that attributed Constant's knowledge to an initiation, an illumination, or the discovery of an older tradition. As will be demonstrated in Chapter 16, all these authors shared an almost complete ignorance of Constant's life and socialist writings. The sharp division between Constant the socialist and Éliphas Lévi the occultist was therefore a speculative interpretation serving primarily to construct the identity of a supposedly superior French occultist tradition. The first substantial biography of Constant, published in 1926, did nothing to alter this situation. Its author, Paul Chacornac, 1884 to 1964, an occultist publisher and bookseller, had written a hagiography that arranged its source material teleologically around the French initiation narrative of the 1880s, thereby further cementing it. The division between Constant and Éliphas Lévi has been adopted almost unanimously by scholars up to the present day. Only a few studies have suggested that Constant's socialist ideas continued beyond 1848. But they did not attempt to determine the relationship between his occultist and socialist writings or to place the connected aspects within their historical context. Only occasionally has it been pointed out that Constant the socialist by no means disappeared from view with the emergence of Éliphas Lévi, the occultist. Research on socialism has likewise devoted only sporadic attention to Constant's works, while once again excluding his later occultist publications. The generally poor state of scholarship and knowledge concerning the socialists before 1848 contributed to the inability of scholars of esotericism to establish the necessary connection with the socialist context. In some cases, they even assigned Constant's occultism to the political right. To date, no study has recognized its political character and situated it within its historical context. The same applies to contributions from the fields of art history and literary studies, whose interest in Constant stems from the considerable influence he exerted not only through his esoteric works, but also through his songs and poems, for example, upon Baudelaire, Arthur Rimbaud, Stéphane Mallarmé, Auguste Villiers de l'Isle-Adam, Joris Karl Huysmans, and the French symbolists. Alongside Théophile Gautier and Gérard de Nerval, Constant himself belonged to the so-called Petit Romantique, the lesser-known yet influential romantic authors of the July monarchy. He also had connections with major romantic figures such as Alexandre Dumas, Victor Hugo, and Honoré de Balzac, whose widow became his friend. For more recent artists, from Paul Gauguin and André Breton to Alejandro Jodorowsky, he likewise served as an important source of inspiration. His writings were relevant to scholars of Romanticism because they reveal the tendencies of the period with exceptional clarity, including the connection between Romanticism and socialism, which played a central role. Yet here too, studies generally focus exclusively either on Constant the socialist or on Éliphas Lévi the occultist. At best, the continuity of his ideas has merely been suggested. Instead, scholars focus their attention on the occultist tradition. Yet this supposed traditional continuity has never been demonstrated because scholars tacitly assumed that Constant's occultism was not the product of contemporary discourses, but rather either the result of an initiation or the discovery of an already existing tradition, or of several esoteric traditions that he synthesized within a modern context. It is particularly problematic that scholarship has neglected precisely the middle of the 19th century, which would constitute the crucial link necessary to demonstrate any such continuity of tradition. In light of this, the prevailing narratives of a rupture between Constant the socialist and Éliphas Lévi the occultist must be revised. If Constant's occultism actually emerged from his communism neo-Catholic rather than from initiation into an esoteric tradition, then, on the second and more general level, this also entails the need for a fundamentally new historical contextualization, one that calls into question existing scholarly perspectives on occultism and esotericism, as well as on socialism.